openly admit that today, as someone who has done this podcast and has done shows and has done videos and has produced content that is mainly LSU revolved, this has got to be one of those days that I will always remember. It will be one of those days that I always remember because of the blatant stupidity that I saw out on social media today. Now, I'm not meaning that in a derogatory way in reference to the derogatory meaning like, hey, it's just an expression when you talk about sports. But what I do mean, and I know a lot of you saw it because as of right now, when I look down at the timeline of just interactions that I had with you today, especially when it comes to the idiocy of Jay Johnson being described and compared to none other than Ed Orgeron, has got to be one of the absolute dumbest things that I've ever seen. There are multiple ways how Jay has not been and does not have a same track as Ed Orgeron does. Number one, Ed was horrible at Ole Miss. Jay at Arizona, 2 out of the 5 years that he had a full season of play, because remember COVID, the season got canceled. He made it to Omaha. In one of those years, he got to a final. You know, when you hired him, the reason your coaching search took so long was mainly due to the fact because he was back in Omaha with Arizona. Mainly due to the fact that he was back in Nebraska trying to win another national or his first national title before he won one here. Guys, in a 7-year span, the man has been to Omaha 3 times. If he goes back again this year, he's at a 50% clip of him going to Omaha and a 33% chance that he's going to play for a national title. And we want to come out here as fans, and I'm sorry for those who have no idea what I'm talking about, but as I sit here today, 162,000 total people have seen the interaction of me losing my outright mind of people saying that Jay Johnson is a comparison to Ed Orgeron. Since 2016, 3 College World Series appearances. One of those years got canceled due to COVID. At LSU, Jay Johnson is winning 71.25% of his games. 70%. 70% of the games Jay Johnson is winning at LSU. At LSU right now currently, he's 171-69. To give you a better understanding of what that is, Jay Johnson has coached in 240 games at LSU. He's won 171 of them. I understand that Ed Orgeron was the head coach and led you to a season and during a season for what might be the greatest team of all time. But in the last 2 years, he went 500. He went 6-6 in 2021, and he went 5-5 in 20. Or he went 6-6 in 2022, and 5-5 in 2021. He was the main reason of why LSU in the last 2 decades had their first losing season. 2 decades, which you led in that category amongst all other teams in the country. LSU was the only team that had not been below sub 500 in the last 2 decades before Ed in his last season. This man has gone to Omaha 3 times in the last 7 years. And God forbid he does it again. God forbid. He's at a 50% clip in 8 years of going to Omaha. I could and would and will make the argument that he's a pitch away last year from you hosting a super regional and you're beating West Virginia last year. I don't care what anybody tells me. You are going to beat them in a down year. You know, it's absolutely chaotic to me that I'm the one that gets labeled on this media beat as negative. It shouldn't surprise me, but it does. But I have constantly said on this show multitudes of times, in college baseball, you cannot bring a football mentality into baseball. And then you compare him to a football coach. A guy that got to the postseason last year. Blakey went 13-17 in the SEC a year ago. Because he's not going to do that this year. He's not. That is not going to happen. They're not going to win just one more game in their last 4 SEC series. It's not going to happen. At worst, you're going to be sub 500 in SEC play. Which still technically is not necessarily bad, but it's not going to happen. We have too much, way too much of a football mentality that gets brought into baseball. I also see a situation here of where a lot of people want to compare Jay Johnson to Skip Bertman. Number one, that is unfair. That is very unfair. If you're going to hold him to the standard of the greatest of all time, if that is the mecca of what you hold him up to, that's like every Alabama coach, you're having to live up to Bear Bryant and Saban. That's not a fair comparison. You love the years that you had these elite, the greatest of all time head coaches. But finding the next head great coach went from Bear Bryant to Nick Saban for a team like Bama. Now you hope, and I pray to God, that Jay Johnson is the Nick Saban to our Bear Bryant with Skip Bertman. I hope that that is the case. I pray to God, as someone who begs for content in the summer, that that is the case. Guys, baseball is different now, and much more popular now is college baseball, and more teams in the SEC give a shit now than what they did in the 90s, and that is not taking anything away from Skip. It isn't. But if you remotely watch this sport at all, and I know a lot of you say that you do, but I know that you don't, because some of you today thought that one of LSU's losses was to Omaha in a midweek. It wasn't. They had a weekend series, and I want to bring this up to your ass. Did you know that in Skip Bertman's main run, the electric run that Skip Bertman went on, that there were series before SEC play where he lost to mid-major programs? What? Did you know that there was a series in 1995? I know that it happened for a fact that you lost 2 out of 3 to South Florida. Do you remember that? Because it's there. It happened. And you're comparing him. It's so wild to me that LSU in 1996, wasn't it 1996? Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong here. Or 98, whichever one. Was when you got beat by Alabama 28-2. And then you came back and you beat them in a national title. You expose yourself completely when you try to compare football to baseball. That is an unfair comparison. And anyone who tries to do that is just plain wrong. Now, I know where this is all coming from. Where this is all coming from is because you got run ruled by Northwestern State. I don't like that. You don't like that. Nobody likes that. Jay doesn't like that. I'm sure the players don't like that. Actually, I know that they don't. None of us do. But guys, for crying out loud, What in the Sam hell are we doing? What in the Sam hell are we doing? I guess Kevin O'Sullivan should be fired at Florida because their year went down the tubes. There's also something that Skip never battled. You want to know what it is? The portal. NIL. He hasn't. One final thing. Jay Johnson was compared to Ed Orgeron today, as we've clearly established here. This is not a shot to Coach O. Do y'all remember the way it ended? Because I sure as hell did. I sure as hell did. Because the photos that came out with Coach O during COVID alone, you remember the laughing stock that you felt like that you had become. That your head coach was dating someone whose nudes got leaked and was sent around. And if you're an LSU fan and you dug hard enough, you could have got him. And you're trying to compare a man that literally, after 19, ran you into the ground. When he walked out of the door, guys, LSU had 37, 36, 37, whatever it was. I don't even remember anymore. Scholarship players. Brother. Jay had 23 players. 23 players that got drafted from that 2023 national title team. 23. Do you know how many people and coaches and teams can say that? Not many. Not many. You compared him to a man that embarrassed you. And I love Coach O. I do. But this is dog shit from y'all. Some of you. And y'all want to come in here and blame my ass for being too negative because I tell you, you need a safety in the portal, which we will talk about tonight. I've never in my life seen a coach that has you number 3 in the SEC standings. And because he lost a fucking midweek game that most of you say, and by the way, all of you that were arguing for Jay, by the way, saying, oh, yeah, I don't like Jay. We need to get him out here. That's stupid as shit. But I also went to a lot of y'all's profiles on Twitter and just typed in the word midweek. And boy, wouldn't you know, y'all think they don't matter. You think that they don't matter. But then they matter when something like last night happens. So then when you play 2 weeks ago, the team that was leading the Southland Conference in McNeese, not a peep from any of you. Not a peep. Not a word from any of you. You must not do idiotic shit like this. Lastly, I said that 2 lastlies ago. Lastly, do you understand the arrogant asshole that I should be in coming in here every night telling you I told you so about Jaden? It's the same crew again, boy. It's the same crew again. Fire Jay. Bud. Good Lord. Guys, let me just throw this your way. Okay? Let's just say hypothetically Jay does find a way and his team does find a way to get to Omaha. You know what narrative all of you will be pushing? He's gotten to Omaha 4 times in the last 8 years. He continues. to be one of those coaches that ends with a number 1 to number 3 recruiting class. Derek Curiel, William Schmidt, Maverick Rizzi, Kason Evans. Just wait until all of those hit. It will be a day to remember. Oh, God. Oh, God. David says, get rid of Yeski, not Johnson. David, as LSU is number 2 in the SEC in ERA. They led the country last year in strikeouts. When y'all say stuff like that about Yeski as an example, do I agree with everything that Yeski's done? No. I will be the first to admit. You know what else, though? Guys, that's like saying that you want an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator fired for having the number 1 secondary in the country. That's the equivalent in my brain. That 1,000% is the equivalent in my brain. That you want this man fired and moved on from when you're 2 in the – guys, you're 2nd in the SEC in ERA. Runs are the only thing that matters. The only thing that matters. So anyway, we got a super chat in here, $5 super chat. We're going to move on from this. A $5 super chat from our good friend Jackie Harris. It's getting started in the portal. Finish strong. Well, Jackie, I might have some bad news for you tonight because we will get into that. We'll talk about the portal. We'll give a little small brief review before we do our deep dive tomorrow into Tennessee. Some key notes that LSU must do to take the 2 games. I do feel it in my bones that LSU is going to win this one. But, man, it's going to be a tough one. We'll get to that. We'll get to the NFL draft here tonight as well. Tyler Townsend says it's a different era of ball, total different with the portal and NIL. I'm not saying Skip would struggle, but it would be harder on him. 1,000% it'd be harder on him. 1,000%. Anybody that says that it wouldn't are kidding themselves at best. They're kidding themselves. Like, I just don't get it. I do not get it, man. I really, really, really don't. I really don't. Boy. All right. Let's get to it here. Everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share to all those groups if you're on social media and to all those social media pages. You're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, notification bell, wherever you listen to podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. Before we get to quick break, guys, I got to tell you about our good friend and our good friends over at Kettle. They have partnered with LSU left tackle and a guy that will be drafted on Thursday in Will Campbell, who is offering you a chance to win a Rolex right off of his wrist. That's right. The best tackle in this year's draft has partnered with our good friends over at Kettle Watches in the marketplace, and he will be wearing a Rolex for draft day. But Will is giving that away in an event. Here's how you can win. Go over to kettle.shop/AYS. That's kettle.shop/AYS. You have until May 2nd at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for your chance to win the Rolex right off of Will Campbell's wrist. It's not the only thing they're giving away. Signed helmets, signed football from Will Campbell as well. Again, kettle.shop/AYS today. $10 entry gets you a chance to win. Let me get to a quick break. When we come back, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Stay with us. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events.
with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag.
Guys, let me tell you about our good friends over at Grand Slam Heating and Air, where your comfort is their top priority. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they promise to provide customers with high-quality HVAC service at an affordable price while ensuring the homeowner peace of mind. From their office to your home, they guarantee the best hassle-free experience around. Efficiency and comfort is their game. Let them make your home Grand Slam today. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they're offering their annual maintenance plan starting off at $18.75 a month and also doing those $99 tune-up promotion. They provide free estimates for system and ductwork replacement, as well as offering financing to get the job done with no money up front. From Baton Rouge to Hammond to Covington, they're all around. So what you need to do today, give them a call at 225-380-9065. That's 225-380-9065. Or go over to their website, getgrandslamair.com. That's getgrandslamair.com, where your comfort is their top priority.
We're back.
All right. Let me get to this because I know that Jackie Harris inside of the chat brought up it's getting started in the portal. Finish strong with a $5 super chat. Here's what I'm going to say, because I've said this a couple of times. Here's what I will tell you from what number one, I've heard, and number one, from what's just overall happening. I do think that LSU, for what it's worth, has had multitudes of debates between the coaching staffs of, number one, direction of guys that are in the portal and the direction that they need to go. I can tell you for outright confidence that there have been some safeties in the portal that they have contacted, without a doubt. In that contacting, I don't know if LSU is willing to pay some of the price tags. Now, that is not to say that they're not going to add anybody, and I've made this very well known. I'm not saying that they're not going to add anybody here, because I do think that there's a strong chance that they could, given the right circumstance. But as of right now, I do feel like the room of your coaching staff is split here. It is of my opinion in some positions that you might need to throw some shit at the wall. Guys, I do think Cup coming, and we will talk about a lot in June. We will talk about this a lot in July. We will talk about this a lot in August and throughout the season. So in a couple of months, what's going to be started, at least from this show, is that I can make the argument based off of preseason thoughts, which can be wrong, is that LSU could face one of, if not the toughest schedule in the country. Guys, you potentially are facing off and starting the season off with a playoff team in Clemson based off their own conference and how down it is, with a senior quarterback that's coming back, with three of their top receivers coming back, with their entire offensive line coming back, with a new defensive coordinator that has weapons, especially in the front seven. There's a lot of different things that we can make here and see here and find out about your team. But one thing is for certain, when it comes to the portal, I don't know if you're there yet. That is my thought. That is my take. And I do feel like that room is split. There are things offensively that I still don't have answers on. For me personally, I don't know what you're doing along the offensive line. You didn't bring the two receivers that you had, and Nick Anderson is a little bit of an exception here. I don't know what you're going to look like at receiver, adding in with Aaron Anderson and Chris Hilton. Maybe you start feeling a lot better when some super freaks and athletes start rotating in there with the ones. Good news is for LSU, no one's entered the portal for them other than one, which Clayton entered the portal. Okay. Like, I don't mean that. I mean, Nobody of significance to wins and losses for you next year has entered the portal. No real true depth piece for you has entered the portal, and that's a good thing. It's a very good thing. I don't know which moves, Jackie, that they're going to make. What I do know is that there are some that want to add, and there are some that don't. And I know that because it came to these ears. One that disagrees with it, one that does that let me clarify. Disagrees with not needing to go in the portal, and the other believing that they need to. From both of them. I don't know. I do think that there could be some situations, and I want to clarify this before we move on here and talk some baseball. I want to be very, very specific in how I say this. Now, I'm going to say, and people are like, are you just giving yourself a back door? No, I'm not giving myself a back door. The reason that the show takes off the way that it does, the way that a lot of you come in here and listen, is mainly due to the fact that we're right a lot about a lot of things when it comes to sourcing. Not going to run it out there. It's not my job to break news. Now, we have a lot in the past, a lot. And we've given a lot of hints, which people hate, even though we've basically called the entire Alex Atkins thing for a whole 3 weeks, but for a whole month. They need to go in the portal. At some point, I think they need to throw some shit at the wall. There's no way that I will tell you this. This is a take that everyone that covers this team agrees with. That take is simple. The take is that there's no way that you can, anybody, coaches, media, players, mamas and daddies that were out there, recruits, there's no way that you could have seen this offensive line this spring and think that they couldn't add somebody. There's no way. Especially at tackle. I will get to this. A guy that was on our list is someone that I do think that was a riser, was Weston Davis, and mainly due to the fact of how bad day one was until the last day of practice. The problem is that he had a really bad day on the big stage, and I say the big stage, which is not really big, but for him, and getting a spring game start and not executing to his ability. Brian Kelly did tell Scott Rabelais today of The Advocate that he expects Weston Davis to be your starting right tackle. Okay, well, that just tells me that you have said that you were moving DJ Chester to guard, that you're really expecting Weston Davis to be at right tackle, so which means that you're probably going to put in Braylon Moore at center, DJ Chester at one guard, and then Josh Thompson at another, and let Tyree Adams be at left tackle. Guys, they've never done that. They've never once rolled out the scenario of that. Or you might put Josh Thompson at left guard, whichever one. Doesn't matter. We have not seen that scenario. That scenario can work. It very well could work. And that might be what they're hoping on. Let's hope that hits. So, Jackie, if that, I hope that answers your question. I don't know. Basically, in a 10, 12-minute segment of us just talking about it, I don't know, Jackie. I really don't. I would love for everybody to come in here and start sharing or sending super chats and saying, hey, what do you think about this player in the portal? And us having full, long conversations about it. I would love nothing more. I'm not going to come out here and tell you because I just don't know. I really just don't know what's going to happen here. If you ask my opinion, I think that they should. I 100% think that they should. Because Ohio State, Texas, a lot of these teams are going after guys in the portal and paying the price tags. And let me tell you this. Here will be LSU's excuse. LSU's excuse will be, well, look, man, Texas has just got more money than us, and they're going to outspend us. Because they're probably, from what it seems like, per on 3 and 247, not from me, is the kid, the freshman All-American Murad Watson, the defensive tackle from Syracuse, looks like that he's going to Texas. Now, I don't think that you need an edge, but a guy that rushed the passer all year last year from North Carolina and Bo Atkinson, who's likely going to Ohio State, guys, he rushed from the interior a lot last year on third down situations, had 7.5 sacks in the ACC last year. I would just say that there are teams making moves that are spending the budget and have a roster that has a massive budget just like yours does. I know that you're playing an analytical game here, but you cannot convince me that you could not use a Murad Watson when Texas, who's been to back-to-back Final Fours, says that they could use them, because you're not better than them right now. You are not better than Texas. Not defensively, you're not. You are not more talented than them. That is just an overall fact. If you are, there would need to become a shitload of development. We'll see in due time. In due time. I see Alexander Taylor says Texas got 5 DTs from the portal. Yeah, they got one from a guy that Ohio State thought was going to start this year. Anyway, Marvis says Blake breaks news all the time if you listen. Yes, if you listen. We'll clip it sometimes if we need to. Marvis also says you also need a 6th offensive lineman, and that could very well be the case. Marvis, if you ask me right now, who would be your 6th offensive lineman? I don't think that you have one. And you were going to have an injury along your offensive line. Guys, it happens to everybody every year. Delly got hurt for you. The Remington Award winner for the national champion and Seth McLaughlin got injured. He tore his Achilles last year. Texas lost 3 offensive linemen against Clemson. I'm trying to think other notable situations. I can't think off the top of my head, but everybody knows that is a 100%. And listen, in 2023, remember Emory Jones got hurt. Emory Jones got hurt, but the bigger one was Frazier got hurt. And remember, so Lance Hurd had to start at right tackle. He started against Mississippi State. So I don't know who would be your 6th offensive lineman. Notre Dame. Thank you, Alexander. Notre Dame along both lines of scrimmage. Them too. I don't know that. I'm not sure if you have the depth there. Here would be the here's where I counteract that. Okay? Where I would counteract that is you now I'm about to contradict myself. I do think LSU would have the depth if you got Solomon Thomas involved quickly and then Carius Kern. I don't know how they're going to be able to keep Carius Kern out of the getting him reps with the ones. Whether it happens in preseason or not, I do not know that. I do feel in season that Carius Kern will make a move. So that's a whole nother situation in and of itself. You might have a true freshman freak athlete that legitimately could start for you, and I would not hate seeing him get reps at all. They had him at left tackle this year, and outside of center, Carius Kern could be your 6th tackle, but I don't know that. Right? He struggled at tackle in pass rush situations. He's a guard. Either him or Solomon Thomas, I think, could take that role, but the thing is I don't know if he doesn't take a starting job. So maybe DJ Chester could be that 6. So there is an argument there, even to everything I just countered, but I don't know yet. I guess we'll see. All right. Let's get to this a little brief before, I saw this comment. I want to get to this because we talked a lot about offensive line and DT. Tyler says we need a 4th and 5th year safety, and there are plenty of them in the portal. Listen, man, maybe I'm just yapping with the minority here, but it's just all the comments that we see about people disagreeing with me at safety. Guys, I don't want to risk it. I think that's more of where I'm at. If we're going to just rip the Band-Aid right off, I would rather, this is what I'd rather. I would rather LSU take a risk and a chance in the portal for the position of safety. And even if it's a guy that never necessarily contributes at that position, than being in the last portal window where you can go and get somebody at that position that might be able to play for you versus risking if Toviano takes a massive leap, McBride takes a massive leap, Deshaun McBride takes a massive leap, okay, to play and fill that position. That's the Thursday report was, the last practice we saw was that the tight end room in 7-on-7 abused the safety room. Tight ends. Guys, in this system, y'all remember seeing Major Burns in one-on-one coverage? This system that LSU runs under Blake Baker is predicated for safeties being able to go out and cover one-on-one. TaMarcus has struggled all camp when it comes to covering tight ends. He's 5'11", 180. Don't show me what the roster says. He's maybe 6 foot 180. He's not a big guy. Against big-bodied, physical, strong tight ends, it has been an outright freak-out mismatch. So the safety, the point that I'm just trying to make here is simple. I would rather risk it. I would rather go out there and risk going after a Halsey, going after the kid from ULM, risk it in reference to you getting somebody at that position, bringing somebody in, and if Toviano doesn't take the step, if McBride / Spears, excuse me for saying McBride, I just always think of Deshaun as McBride, but if Deshaun Spears doesn't take that leap, are you willing to go a third straight year after you just had 2 years of really bad safety play? Very bad safety play. Are you willing to risk having that scenario when you need to go out there and take a shot and take a chance? I am not willing to risk that. I 1,000% am not willing to risk that for my team. If it were me, it's not my team. It is not my team. There is no way that I would do that. Now, I think Halsey is at a visit at Miami. I don't know. I don't know. But I will tell you, LSU was one of the teams that reached out to him. And I think that price tag's a little too big. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. There's just no way on God's planet Earth that I would take the risk. Why would you take the risk? Toviano's not going to hit the portal. Spears isn't going to hit the portal. Maybe Joe Rogers hits the portal. Maybe Jordan Gilbert hits the portal. So? Because you cannot risk that. It's not... Us having those conversations is not up for debate with me. Like, it's one of those that I look at personally, not as an opinion. Why would you not want to risk it? Why would you? It's like the Saints in the draft, right? Which we'll talk about the draft at the end of the show here. Why in God's heaven's name would you risk not getting a quarterback? Guys, the Saints need a quarterback. I mean, Mickey Loomis was out there today rambling about all the shit that he rambles about, and we'll get to that later. But what? You think that you're entitled to not answer questions from the media about a quarterback that you signed and gave a ridiculous contract to, and he's not even going to play? How conceited is that shit? But one thing I do know is whenever it is, you better snab a quarterback just in case, wherever that is. It's too high a risk for me. All right. Let's get to this. Let me get to a quick break. We come back, talk LSU, Tennessee next. Stay with us. Guys, I want to talk to you about our good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company. Are you facing tough times due to an injury from a car accident, navigating the complexities of divorce, or purchasing a new home? At the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company, they understand the challenges you're going through, and they are here to help. The lawyer team of Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, along with Morgan Daniels, have the experience and proven track record to give you that peace of mind. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600 to schedule a free consultation at their brand new office located in historic downtown Ponchatoula. They're also doing a special, the AYS special. If you're refinancing or closing on a home in Southeast Louisiana, request the Drake Title Company to handle your closing. If you mention Blake Ruffino and AYS, you're going to receive a $400 discount on title fees. Again, give them a call at 985-386-7600. Let them know that Blake Ruffino sent you on by.
Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Foss and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with a great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Foss has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirements.
I'm not putting this comment up on screen, but Burl, I guess is this how you pronounce his name, on Twitter, says, and I quote here, Blake, I am surprised it's been 3 days and you haven't brought up Shannon Sharp. I don't think that that's really anything to play with at this given point in time. I did play with it earlier. Pause. As this is going on, I think I'm gonna stay away from that because that does not look good. Also, I don't think it looks good on either side. And then you going out there and saying that, well, sex tape's going to be released soon. Man, talk about a legacy killer, or what could be, depending on what's on that video. I mean, you know how the internet goes. Kim Kardashian had a sex video and became a multi-billionaire. I don't know. I think I think these situations are different. This one is alleging something very much more heinous, and Kim didn't have a lawsuit like that on her. But she did marry a crazy man. And you have no idea which one I'm talking about. Because I'm not – I think you know which one I'm talking about. Anyway, so LSU takes on Tennessee this weekend in a 3-game series, which it will be the biggest series in the SEC, regardless if Texas and Texas A&M are taking on one another. And the whole Schloss debacle, which happened a year ago. Tomorrow, we're going to really break down Tennessee. We are going to really talk about them in depth. And we'll probably be over at Service Talk when we do it. Tonight, there are 4 key points that I want to touch on going into this series. Guys, I am flushing what happened last night to you with Northwestern State. I know that if you continue to struggle, okay, that will be a big piece that you can bring up. At the current moment, I am flushing that out of my mind because Jared Jones is not going to be at third. You're not going to have that many errors. You're not going to make that many bad defensive plays. you will be out of innings much sooner. Guys, 7 runs came off of errors and misplayed baseballs. No, even the 2 plays that Jones wasn't recorded an error on still generated 3 runs. That is the point that I would bring up here in reference to you could have been out of innings. Jay should have probably put him back at first, but he wanted to make a statement, and he did. Good on him. I'm not saying he threw a game or anything like that. I think he was trying something. It did not work, and you're not going to see it again per him. I think the man's going to keep his word. I am flushing it. I'm not going to – there's no reason for you as a player, a coach, no matter what. Get that out of your mind. This is baseball. It's a completely different situation. Tennessee and LSU do take on each other this week. And they're in these 4 points. I want to bring up this. Against Ole Miss, when Tennessee faced off against them, and against Kentucky last weekend. If anything has taught us about Tennessee this year is they have allowed a ton of stolen bases. This past weekend and on Saturday specifically, when Tennessee lost to Kentucky, if you follow us on Twitter, you saw this. When Kentucky beat them, when we were kind of tweeting about it or whatever, was watching that game on Saturday. Kentucky had 7 stolen bases in 2 innings. 2 innings, 7. Absolutely, incredibly crazy. Ole Miss did that to them too. The reason it is so imperative this weekend more than most against Liam Doyle on Friday and on Saturday, guys, I know when you're in a slump and I know when you're in a lull, you 100% want to be aggressive and you want to go after them. I don't think you can do that here, especially with Liam Doyle, especially what you're going to see on Saturday, because the teams that have knocked off Tennessee have done a couple of things very specific, whether it be A&M or whether it be Kentucky. A&M bashed their way through it. But that's not all of what the series told us. What happened early in games 2 and 3 for Texas A&M? They took a shit load of pitches. They got moving on the base paths. They literally put pressure on Tennessee defensively, who, guys, quite frankly, is struggling. The middle of their infield has booted some balls around. Their catcher has not been – y'all think Luis Hernandez is bad. You should see what Tennessee's going to run out here, and it ran out there last weekend and the weekend before that, the weekend before that, the weekend before that, of how many pass balls that they've allowed. What has happened and why it's not been a big deal is because their pitching staff and their bullpen has not allowed runners on. And that has been a massive thing for them. Guys, on Friday night, you got to be patient, and you got to work that count. You got to fight and battle on every pitch against Liam Doyle. But there's a lot of run in a lot of the pitches that he has to the arm side. I'm taking that take from an MLB scout who's won a shitload of national titles. And his consensus, along with mine, when I spoke with him today, was simple. It was simple in this sense. It was simple in the fact that the teams that have knocked them off early in games and got to the bullpen were able to get these wins against Tennessee. Guys, it is the biggest series for you. And I think this series against Tennessee, I was asked on Monday, Blake, I was asked on Saturday when we did the postgame, of all the remaining series for LSU, what is the biggest? And I said Tennessee. Then I'm going to say Tennessee now for this main reason. The reason it is Tennessee is because of, guys, you have people wanting Jay Johnson to be fired. You're number 3 in the SEC. Tennessee is the reigning national champions who swept you a year ago. You've often been compared with them. You talk shit to their fan base. This is a must-win series for Jay, even in a struggle. It's a must-win series for everybody, for you as a team, for you as a coaching staff. All around, this is a must-win series. For a perception standpoint of where you stand in the hierarchy of things. Your stretch, this final stretch down the road is tough. It is difficult. And it's bad because you're staring a gauntlet in the face. And it is a gauntlet. It very much is a gauntlet. And we're going to see how LSU responds here. And God, I hope they respond in a really strong light. But man, I will tell you, in my bones, I feel it. I feel as if that this place, the being at the box on Friday, being in the box on Saturday, being at the box on Sunday, I would say more Friday and Saturday night more than game 3. But I think the atmosphere plays for you and the intensity overcomes it. I think it's a massive, massive factor. It feels a lot like to me what the Ole Miss series, the Ole Miss game for you this past year. It feels that way to me. Now, if you remember on that Thursday of the Ole Miss game, we tweeted out, which we can go and find, you ain't losing to Ole Miss. You get those feelings inside your bones too. I don't know how they're going to do it other than one way for sure. Take a lot of pitches and get on. Number 2. You as a pitching staff, guys, you've been very good already as a pitching staff collectively. Guys, you're number 2 in the SEC in ERA, even though we bitch about the bullpen so much. I had somebody that I respect say to me, well, you being second in ERA means nothing. You haven't really played anybody. Guys, neither has Tennessee, really. They've had the same kind of tough of schedule as you have. Hadn't benefited them. You haven't benefited them. But one thing, and we're going to talk about this a lot tomorrow, you're going to have to seize on every bit of the momentum that you're giving. How do you do that? Because we cannot leave runners on in less than 2 outs. In less than 2 out situations, I'm not saying to play small ball. I'm not saying anything like that. You got to get runners in. You got to get them over. Guys, in today's game of baseball, more than it ever has been, it is about the player specifically being a power hitter. Nobody wants to do the fundamentals. You know, I love listening to Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn, I've said this 1,000 times over, was my favorite baseball player of all time. And Tony Gwynn talked about every time that he went to the plate and thought about doing the right baseball play, that was why he always had success. For example, if there's a runner on third and less than 2 outs, he's doing everything to pull the ball and get the ball on the ground to the right side. Everything that he could. And a lot of times what would happen when he had that mentality is that he'd hit a line drive into right field and the run would score. You know, between Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, Schmaltz, and Pedro Martinez, of all 4 of those pitchers, and all 4 of them combined in the career going against Tony Gwynn, they struck him out a total of 6 times. 6. They faced him over 250 plus times. In this series specifically, you got to make and go up to the plate with the mentality of making the right baseball play. I know that sounds stupid, but if you have a runner on second and there's no outs, your goal is to take anything on the ground or anything in the air to the right side. Everything in your power has to do that. Guys, if you're going to have a team like this, you got to play fundamental baseball, especially this weekend. Guys, I add on to that. This was going to be point number 3. When you put the ball in play this weekend, when you do that, guys, Tennessee, unless something changes this weekend, which it could, because it's baseball, teams that have put the ball in play a lot against Tennessee, and put pressure on them defensively, they have crumbled. That has been their biggest weakness. You got to put the ball in play. You got to. The problem has been is that teams have not been able to do it. Find a way. Find a way. Number 4, I'm going to keep that one to myself for today. I'm going to keep that one to myself. We'll get to that one tomorrow in our deep dive here. Chad says Greg Maddux was my favorite player. I like I love the Madman. Tony Gwynn was just my favorite here. He just did everything right. Black Connection says, still can't believe we let Northwestern run rule us, man. That's so bad. I think Black Connection must have missed the entire front of the show. DA says, Blake, I say this all the time, but it's almost every inning we have base runners on, and somehow it seems like they're always stranded. Yeah. Of late. That's why I've said I don't like. Guys, if the worst part of your offense right now is this, that you're constantly getting runners on, but you're not able to get them in, at some point you're going to start getting them in. At some point you need to start getting them in, and you will. So that's the hope that I play out for here. Fat Boy Slim says you need to be the offensive line coach. I have no idea what I'd be doing. Just being blunt. I don't know. I've never recruited high school kids. I would love to be an assistant to like Brad Davis. Be awesome. It'd be awesome. In reference to being the O-line coach, give that to T-Bob or somebody else. Because anybody who says that they know what they're doing in recruiting, they don't. They don't. I still think Kyle Williams, for what it's worth, he's got a challenge in his he's got a challenge. Good thing is that you got Rich Anderson already committed. But he's got a challenge, man. He's got to go out there and recruit. I'm not saying that he can't. We've never seen him recruit. All right. Last thing before we get out of here. So I don't even need the handy dandy notebook for this. Mickey Loomis met with the media today and was an outright asshole. Who in the hell does Mickey Loomis think that he is, that he can run out there to the media and say and think that he doesn't have to answer questions to the media? When it comes to Derek Carr, brother, you paid him an ungodly amount of money to come to New Orleans when he did not prove that he deserved the contract that he got. And now that he's hurt and needs surgery, you don't feel like it's that you have to go out there and justify, and you try to bully the media, which Mickey has done. I don't know if y'all know this. Mickey Loomis has bullied the New Orleans Saints media corps. They are scared to make moves because no one thinks that Loomis will ever get fired because of the connection that he has with Gail Benson. And he might not. But lo and behold, brother, some of the stuff that this guy says makes me want to pull my hair out. It makes me want to pull my hair out. The cockiness for you to have when you go to that podium after you've been getting your asses whipped is the most selfish thing that I've ever seen somebody do when it comes to sports of a team that I love, outside of Ed Orgeron and the Big Titties. It is 1,000% something that I look at with Mickey and say, brother, you have had, since Drew Brees walked out of that door, since Sean Payton has walked out of that door, you have been ass. You've been ass. And I don't mind. I from a philosophy standpoint, I'd love to see what Kellen Moore could do. I think Kellen Moore upside is that he's the next Sean Payton. I think the downside is that he's in over his head. He has no idea what he's doing, and you're going to crumble again, and you're back to just being the Saints before Drew Brees. Boy, does that make the Drew Brees legacy grow. Doesn't it? Man, look what Drew Brees did for that franchise. Since he left, they've been dog water ass. And they have been. And they have been. If Tyler Warren is there at number 9, I've seen a lot of content and people pushing that out there. If Tyler Warren is at number 9, I'm taking him. Tyler Warren is everything that you thought that you would get out of Taysom Hill at tight end. Taysom Hill has a shitload of production carrying the football at running back. That is his best position. He is a running back. He's not a tight end. And he got hurt last year. Tyler Warren led Penn State in rushing against Ohio State. The dude can literally do it all. I don't know where they go. I know in the second round I'm going to grab a quarterback, whichever one's on the board, and pray to God we hit. We'll see, man. We'll see. All right. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Y'all have a good night, man. Peace.